The As Is podcast does not necessarily hold the views or opinions of our guests. The guests have a right to express their own thoughts, and those thoughts are protected with their freedom of speech. What they say is what they say, and we allow them the right to speak on their own behalf. The As Is podcast is not responsible nor liable for the opinions and stories of others. Welcome to another edition of the As Is podcast. Today's guest is the prestigious Pastor Corey Brooks. Pastor, you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Hey, why don't you introduce yourself? Because this is a little different for us. We're going left. And the reason why is because I believe your message and what you stand for needs to reach our audience. And sometimes people like you, they seem to forget about the underworld. So give us a description of yourself.
So I pass on the Southside of Chicago in a place that is known in rap culture as O-Block. A lot of rappers have described it as O-Block, and that's what a lot of people call it. In 2012, the Chicago Sun-Times said it was the most dangerous neighborhood in all of Chicago. And as a result of that, we've been working really hard to change that name and to change the perception to make people's reality a lot better than what it really is. So we're in the trenches with people trying to help them transform their lives. And we created a non-for-profit called Project Hood. Hood stands for Helping Others Obtain Destiny, where we focus on transformation. We focus on eliminating gun violence and eradicating poverty. And we do that with in a number of ways, focusing on the trades, entrepreneurship, mentorship, and leadership, trying to help people to redirect their lives. But at the end of the day, I'm a pastor. I'm the South Side of Chicago and in a very tough area.
You know, I think that's very commendable. Let me ask you this. How often or how many people are receptive to you in the hood?
How many people are what?
Receptive to you, your message. Like, because you're dealing with a different type of an attitude. Your kind of pastoring is very much different than middle class or in the suburbs. Like, you're there hands on, like with guys
For
who
sure.
they don't want to go to school. They're selling drugs. They're carrying guns. How is your pastoring different, and how is it successful to even be in that type of environment?
Well, that's a great question. I think we're very successful at what we do. I think God has gifted everybody with unique skills, abilities, and giftings. And for whatever reason, God just chose to give me certain gifts that reach certain people. I have a good education, so I very well could have gone to a suburb, a church out in the suburbs, and just lived the American dream that they call it. But that's not what God had for me to do. God had for me to be on the south side of Chicago in a gang infested area where there's a lot of crime, a lot of gun violence, a lot of issues. And I'm gifted at doing that. I'm at an age and a stage in my life where I know my gifting and I know what God has called me to do and I know what I'm passionate about. So I'm effective at staying in my lane, reaching people that are marginalized, reaching especially young Black brothers who are in gangs or who have been incarcerated. I've somewhat, for whatever reason, have been very gifted to do that.
I mean, and again, that's commendable. But there have been others in Chicago who've actually tried to do that. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to seem like it's a personal attack. But one of the things that comes up, and I'm just going to be real honest with you, this is like as is. So we are what we
Okay,
are.
no problem.
Like a lot of times, people who step up in your shadow or as you, not you, but as you, a lot of times they're after it for a money grab. It's just for the sake of trying to look like they're doing something to help our people, but at the end of the day, they really don't do anything. What makes you different? And have you ever seen that, in all honesty?
Yeah, I mean, I see it a lot. I mean, it's not just in our walk of life, but it's human nature that there are people who still operate at a level where they're just really looking out for themselves while all the time trying to make it seem like they're trying to help the community or better people, and that's not necessarily true. For me, it's about helping this community to transform. It's about helping people to get to another level. I know what it's like to have lived in poverty. I know what it's like to have been with a single parent. I know what it's like to try to get out of a situation and just need somebody to come alongside, mentor you, love on you, and pull you up. And so that same type of love that I've been given is the same type of love I try to give to others. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm probably effective is because I'm genuine about it. I'm not in it for the money. I still live in the hood. I still drive a Ford truck. Um, you know, my kids went to the same schools, did the same things, but I also think people see what I'm giving and what I'm giving back. We feed thousands, and I mean thousands of families when we do food giveaways. We have lines down the street for at least a mile long. When we have construction classes, we have people on the waiting list to get in. When we have electrical classes, people are really trying to get into those classes. So people see me making the sacrifices. Like even right now, I'm up on the roof of a building for 100 days in the winter to raise money to build a
Yes.
center.
Yeah.
Not take up money for myself, but to build a center that's going to transform lives. So I think people see genuineness. They see me giving back. They see me putting my time, my energy, and effort where my mouth is. And as a result, I think that garners a little respect sometimes.
I think it does. I sincerely think it does. Let me ask you this though: you've done some outlandish things because you've done something similar to this before with a hotel that was drug infested and prostitution and all that kind of stuff. Correct?
Yeah. So 10 years ago, November 20th of 2010, I went up on the roof of a motel that was across the street from our church that was known for sex trafficking and drugs and all kind of illicit, illegal behaviors were going on out of that place. And I went up on top of the motel and refused to come down until I raised enough money to buy it and purchase it and tear it down. So I went up on the roof and I ended up staying there for 94 days, a little longer than I had anticipated. But Tyler Perry gave us the last $100,000 we needed to add to the already 450,000 we had to purchase the building, and we did that and we tore it down.
That's incredible. Let me ask you: does your wife? Because I've read that you are married to Delilah. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Does your wife ever say to you sometimes, like, "Negro, are you crazy?" Like, what do you mean
You
you're
know
going
what?
to sleep on a roof?
Yeah, yeah. My whole family. The first time I did it, my wife, my whole family, everybody thought that I was crazy. My church, but I think once they saw that we succeeded, then this time it's been approached a lot differently. Like my oldest son, who is over our operations, is fully engaged at making sure we get CEOs and making sure we get people participating and making sure we stay on point. My daughter is helping with the social media and stuff like that. Delilah is sending us names of people that we ought to contact. So everybody's fully engaged this time, and even my son Kobe is trying to get his president at Morehouse to come on the roof. So everybody's fully engaged, and we're really committed. And I think one of the reasons why they're so committed is because we've been giving ourselves. This isn't new to us. My family has been sacrificing for a long time, and this is one of the things that we want to accomplish, and we want to be able to move to the next season of our lives.
And again, I can't say anything else other than it's commendable. But let me ask you this though, for your lifestyle and for you being a pastor, like sometimes there's two separate, and understand what I'm getting ready to say or trying to say. There are two separate black lives, meaning there's an uppity black life and then there's a lower class black life. A lot of times
Hmm.
you do not see people of your caliber or your status mix with the lower level blacks, if that's what you want to call them. And let me just say this for my disclaimer: I'm a lower level black, and
No,
that's.
I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
Can you expound
And
on it?
yeah, I think there's some truth and some validity to it that I think a lot of the issues that we face within the black community, it could be resolved if all of our black elites or so-called black elites would give back not just their money, but their time, their brain power, you know, and then their treasure as well. And I think if we would give back, we could turn a lot of these communities around. But what happens is, I believe that we are so accustomed to try to escape and get away from, and
Yeah.
never. But the problem is, we never give back. We never reach back. We never participate back where we came from, and that is the problem. I just have, for whatever reason, stayed humble. I tell people, don't get it twisted. I'm, I come from poverty. I come from nothing. I
Right.
just been blessed. I was blessed to go to school, blessed to get an education. blessed to meet some the right people to help me get in a position. And but at the end of the day, I'm still no different than a regular brother, black brother or sister. So that's the reason why I work so hard, because I don't want to be classified as a black elite.
Yeah, and I don't think you are, because I know I'm just going to briefly tell you that when I first walked up on you, I was kind of hesitant. I had heard about what you were doing on the news, and I said to myself, that's something that's to be respected. And because I own what I own, which is AsIs Magazine, we deal with a lot of people that have criminal backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. But we allow them a
Right.
platform for them to speak. So I know sometimes people frown upon what we do or what I do in particular because it looks as if we're glorifying it. But with black people, you have to show the good side before they'll even pay attention to your story. So sometimes
Absolutely.
you have to show the diamond rings, the big booty girls, the cars, just to get them to listen. But when you get past that and you get to a level to where you say you want to change, how does one make the transition like you've made? Because I've noticed you corrected yourself, but you made a mistake and you said white and then you said right. How do you transition into mainstream America, aka the white world, and have them believe in what you're doing?
Well, it's about what the main thing about transitioning is about making connections.
Right.
And I'm at that stage in my life where I don't care whether you white, black, red, yellow. My thing is, are you interested in what I'm interested in? Are you interested in the vision that I have to try to make this community better? If that is you, then I can get with you. I can rock with you. But if not, I'm not rocking with you. And so my prayer is all the time, just God, connect me to the right people. Connect me to people who are interested in what I'm trying to do, the vision that you've given me, and they care about people's lives. And so I try to find people to connect to that are interested in changing the lives of people and interested in this community, without and without maybe them even getting anything out of it, just wanting to do it because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
I tell people that it's the right thing to do to help people on the south side of Chicago, where there's gang violence and where there's poverty and where there's problems. It's the right thing to do to give somebody a helping hand. It's the right thing to do. And so I try to make sure that people understand that. And those are the people that I try to align with.
But and I understand that, but and I don't want to keep pestering you with this question because I don't think you. I know you understand what I'm saying, but I'm trying to get
Oh, yeah.
a direct point. And what I mean is, how does a black man get into a white arena or mainstream
I
America
see.
and make them believe what you're saying and take notice and say, "Hey, I'm going to help you"? Because one of the things that I
Good
think,
question.
what you're doing is you're showing that black people want to work. You're showing that black people want to do something with themselves because when you do the programs, you do your construction, you have people that come. The overall consensus and mindset is that black people don't want to work. And I think it's that
Yeah.
because sometimes we don't know how to approach the people that have the jobs and speak to them in a manner that says, "Hey, I want to work." How do you transition yourself to them white people to say, "Believe
Yeah.
in me and I'm honest"? How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is I'm not trying to make white people feel guilty for my predicament, my situation. That's the first thing. I'm not walking around talking about every white person is racist and the whole system is racist and let's overthrow the system. I approach it a lot differently. I believe that there's no individual, white, black, or whoever, who has power enough over to me to stop me from becoming whatever it is that God wants me to become. And so that's the message that I preach. And so I tell people that, hey, I'm not interested in trying to make you feel guilty about our predicament. But what I am interested in is you helping me to get people to understand that if you work hard, if you're giving some opportunities, some options, some alternatives, then you can climb out of any and every situation. And I think that messaging appeals to a certain segment of people who want to help. They look at Chicago and they see the violence. They see these young black brothers killing each other, and they're saying, I want to do something about that. I just don't know what to do. So
Right.
I give them an option to align with me, because I'm not trying to play the racism card every single time that something jumps off. And that's one of the things that I'm proud about, and that's one of the things that I stand on. And because I build relationships with people based upon character and not color, then I think it makes a lot of difference.
That's a great statement. But how do you, a young black man comes to you and his vocabulary is of the streets. his mentality is of what he's grown up on, and that mentality might be the white man ain't no good, blase blase, da da da. If someone was to approach you like that, could you tell me exactly what you would say to that person,
Oh
other than
yeah,
what you just said?
yeah, absolutely. First of all, I have that happen a lot.
Okay.
And so the first thing I do is I try to we call it strip them. I try to strip them of that mindset because nothing changes until you help a person change their mindset. And I try to help them see that listen, every decision that you have made has gotten you to where you are. Nobody told you don't go to school. Nobody told you don't do this or don't. You decided of your own free will. And when you get a person to start recognizing that I am where I am because of the choices I've made, then that's when you can begin to help them to change their mind. But as long as they have this victim mentality, that is never going to work because they're going to always use victimhood as an excuse to stay in the predicament that they're in. And so every time something comes up, they're going to always blame somebody, whether it's the white man or the mama or the sister, the brother. When they get a woman, they're going to blame her because they so used to being a victim. So we tell them, man, you ain't no victim. You're a warrior. You're a conqueror. So act like it.
Right.
And anytime you start saying that I can't do it because this white man or this racist system, then you giving them too much power over you.
Right.
And I just refuse to allow people to do that around me.
I agree with that 100% because I think that if whatever you're going to do, at the end of the day, sometimes you don't even have to target white people. You can target whoever you want to. And I think that overall, black people do have that mentality. How do you think we could change that?
Well, it changes with people like you know, with podcasts and with with marketing and with with writing and showing people a different way, giving them a different avenue, showing them a different way. That's the first thing. The second thing is we got to have some models that present it that show people that if you work hard and you try to do certain things, you can achieve, and that if you uh, practice certain principles, because what I discovered is principles are not prejudice. Principles, if you got $100 and you practice the same principles that Warren Buffett practiced when he had $100, you could be a Warren Buffett. It's just you got to follow the principles.
Right.
And I think a lot of times people don't understand that, and they don't understand if I just follow the principles, I can make it, I can succeed. But they got to learn the principles. So that's where we got to start. We got to start getting people to understand there's certain laws in the universe. If you operate in those laws, things can work in your favor.
And I believe that as well. And I think that you're sincere with that because I noticed that you have your Hood initiative and you have Highsmith as your director.
Yeah, James Highsmith,
Yeah,
who
he.
was a well-known gangster back in the days.
Yeah,
He is our director of our violence prevention. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's funny you say that because I just released today Larry Hoover's interview from his son, and he just came from ADFX Florence, Colorado, seeing him. And one of the things that I didn't know, I investigated on Highsmith, was that he actually shot Larry Hoover, and I didn't.
Exactly. Isn't that something?
I'm like, wow. So I'm
And
like,
live to tell about it.
exactly. That's why I was like, wait a minute, let me dig a little deeper. Uh, I mean, I agree with everything you're doing. I just see sometimes that it's hard to get that message across to the masses because it seems like violence is what sells. And I say that to say, O
Yeah.
Block is one of the most famous blocks in Chicago for violence right now. Like that is a badge of honor. So how do you fix, on one hand, you're trying to do good and bring good into that neighborhood. But on the other hand, the people from that community walk around with the murders and the killings as a badge of honor. How do you get in and
Yeah.
try to fix that?
Well, first of all, that's a great question. And I think God has strategically placed me here in this neighborhood, and it's so popular for being known
It is.
because of violence and other
Yes.
things,
Yes.
other negative things. What better place to be to change it? You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
tell people, yeah, this is O Block. We're gonna keep the O, but we're gonna turn the O into opportunity, not
Okay.
opposition, not obstacles, but opportunity. And we're going to change this block and transform it. And I think as people begin to see the changes, and they have, things will begin to continue to get better. It's nowhere near what it used to be, but we still have a very, very long way to go.
Right.
And I think as we continue to struggle to get there, then more and more people will align with that, and ultimately, eventually, those few negative individuals who causing problems for everybody, they're gonna move or change.
Right. Let me ask you this. I know you've seen it all. O Block is definitely has its reputation, and I've been over there, so I definitely know about it. What is? Can you tell us a story that kind of touched your heart from what you've seen over there? Something that made you just say "damn," or really, really touched
Yeah,
you.
man, there's been so many incidents. I couldn't probably just name just one. The most recent was a situation with Vaughn. Here was this kid that I knew as a little kid. Here's this kid who grows up, gets in trouble, beats a murder case, involved heavily in the gangs, finally decides he's going to escape that, get out, start being very popular. And then this is the part that I loved. He reached back and started trying to get some of the guys that was with him and get them up out of the situation that they were in and get killed. And I'm like, man, that's hard and that
Yeah.
hurts to see because I would have loved to see, people talk about gangster music and drill music, but they forget how Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and all of them used to be. I can remember when I was growing up, then they had, when they was talking about killing cops, NWA,
Yeah.
niggas with attitudes.
Yeah.
And now look at them. Dr. Dre, look at Dr. Dre now. He's a
Yeah.
reputable businessman. So I would have loved to have seen um, Vaughn evolve and see what he would have become if he had the opportunity. So that's just the story, though, of what happens in our neighborhood. Young brothers tragically killed too early, never getting a chance to fulfill their dreams and be a blessing to their families. That's the drama and trauma that we see over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of sad. But let's move on to this. You earlier said that Tyler Perry had given you the extra $100,000 that you needed to finish your first project. How did you meet Tyler?
Well, I didn't meet him. I was on the roof, and Tom Joyner told him about me, and he had a movie out at that time called Good Deeds, and so they called me on the roof. And when he called me on the roof, he found out the situation, and then he hooked us up with $100,000 that same day. And then he paid for the theater for us all to go see the movie. And then later on, he flew me and my wife to his house for some other things. And so that's how that ended up. But initially, and he also gave me the motorcycle from the movie, Good Deeds too. So, but initially, I didn't know who he was. I had never met him. I knew who he was. I just had never met him.
Okay. So what is that relationship with like now?
He's still there. I haven't pushed that button because I try to operate like this. I don't want individuals in that position to ever feel like I'm pressing them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or I feel like they know what I'm trying to do. They know what I'm about. And if God wants it to be so, it'll happen again. Or someone will bless me. I didn't call him the first time. You know what I'm saying? God blessed it. So I just really put my faith in God and that God will touch the hearts of the people that need to be touched and the right people to make a move to help me out. If he does that, I would greatly appreciate it. But if he doesn't do it, I still appreciate Tyler Perry and the things that he offers and the things that he does, especially for hiring black people, getting them jobs and things like that. So at this point in the stage, I'm just trusting God to do whatever he wants to do. Because a lot of times I learned this, brother, that sometimes you look for the blessing in one place and it don't come, then you get frustrated, your expectations get crashed, and you end up sad and depressed. So I've learned the hard way, just keep looking to God and let God push all the buttons.
Right. Let me ask you this: have you reached out, or has anyone from the rap community reached out to you?
Yeah, I know Lil Durk very well, and I'm sure he's going to do something. I'm sure he's going to be a part of what we're trying to do. And I don't know how much he'll give or when he'll give, but I'm more than positive that he will though.
What is your goal? I read that it's 35 million.
Correct. So the center that we're building is $35 million, and my goal is to pay for all of it cash. I don't want to be in debt. Debt assumes and presumes on the future, and I don't want to do that because tomorrow's not promised, and I don't want to build a wonderful facility that's transforming the lives of people, and then something happened to me, like I get sick or I die, and now people are left with all of this debt to try to figure out how they're going to pay for it. I want to make sure that we practice what we preach, and we preach debt freedom. We preach debt free lifestyle, and I want our center and I want our non for profit to be the same way.
How many people have come up to help you so far, and who have they been?
So a lot of people have been coming. We've been having a lot of CEOs. We have Richard Edelman, who has a world's largest PR firm. We got Steve Murray, who's coming. He's one of the co-founders of AOL. You remember AOL? And then we have the brother who created Groupon is coming to be with us. Brad Keywell, and we've had so many people right now today. Taronda Jones, who is a well-known actress from Chicago, who played Portia and Empire, is going to be with us. And we have some other brothers like Bishop Don from Black Ink is coming to be with us. Core, who is an actor from Chicago, he's coming to be with us. So, we starting to have some black actors. And I just talked with John Monopoly, so just a few minutes ago. So he's coming to be with us as well.
You know, I hear the names, and that's something that's good. But let me go here. And this might be kind of touchy for you. How do you feel about the Black Lives Matter movement, and why aren't they there in support, or are they there in support of you?
Yeah, I let me say I believe in Black Lives Matter. I don't believe in the organization. I don't rock
Okay.
with the organization. Yeah, I'm 100% for Black Lives Matter, but I just don't rock with the organization Black Lives Matter. And the reason being is because of the very things that we're talking about. If Black lives really matter, then as your organization, we ought to see you in the trenches. We ought to see, the fact that you got $90 million
Exactly.
and your own chapters are complaining that they aren't seeing any money reach their neighborhoods. For me, that's an issue. That's
Right.
the problem that we've been faced with for years. People using blackness and using certain ideologies to continue the rape of our community, and that's what I don't like.
Right. Have you ever spoken to any?
In the words of Chief Keef, that's I don't like.
Ooh, now, I'm gonna save some of those questions for later. What you know about Chief Keef?
Well, I helped raise Keith, and Keith is from Parkway. When Keith first got in trouble, um, he was in boys' school. I used to go visit him every week, and yeah, so I know Keith very well.
Do you listen to rap music and contemporary music?
I have young kids. I have a son who goes to Morehouse and a daughter who is young at Northwestern. So I don't have no choice but to listen to the music and hear the music when they're in the car at the house. And then all my kids love music. But I will say this. Uh, I listen to their music because I want to know what they're saying. I want to stay in touch with the culture.
Yeah.
I want to stay in touch with young people. So I choose to listen to it so I know what's going on.
Yeah.
However, even with that said, I do not like the cussing about women, calling them out of their names. I do not like talking about shooting ops and killing black people. But at the same time, they are so gifted and so unique at what they do, and that's my only prayer. But I understand I got to give them a chance to grow, just like we gave Dr. Dre a chance to grow, Snoop Dogg a chance to grow, and all of them, Jay Z, all of them grew up, and they grew up out of that. And I'm hoping and praying that that's what happened. Keith's music is starting to change a lot because he's reaching a broader audience, and even Durk's music is starting to change. He's kind of in the middle of the change, though. He still sings about the trenches and stuff like that, but his music is changing.
Yeah, and I think it's a needed change because that music seems to be what is getting brothers killed. It's like,
Oh, for sure.
like
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
that is what,
Without a doubt.
especially Chicago drill music. They are talking to the ops, and the ops are responding, and then they see each
Yes.
other, and then it's gunfire, and that is
Yeah,
something that needs to
exactly.
change. But let me go back to where we left with the BLM. Have you ever talked to any of their leadership?
No, I talked to the brother out of New Orleans. I forget his name, and I don't even think he's part of the leadership anymore. But I have not talked to the major leadership, and one of the reasons why I have not talked with them is just because I don't agree with their principles. And so I'm like this. if I don't agree with you, I'm not gonna phony kick it. I ain't gonna try to rock with you just to get something from you. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just not gonna mess with you.
Right.
You do you, and I do me, and I won't mess with you, and you don't mess with me. So I'm a pastor, but I still got a little street honor too.
Right.
I believe there's a street code, and that's I leave you alone, you leave me alone, and that's just the way it is.
Right, I understand. Let me ask you about one of those codes that you don't agree with them. I actually spoke. I know some of the higher ups, and this is off the record, even though I'm going to air it. But I put together something for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Jacob Blake. I brought them all to Chicago a year ago. Long story short, we had
Mm-hmm.
a lot of help, and they reached out to us to use the name. From what I
I
understand,
bet.
they they raised $2 million, and
Yeah.
Pastor, they didn't give any family one dime.
That was
Not
going to be my question to you. How much did your organization get? How
nothing,
much did the families get?
nothing,
That's my exact point. How
nothing.
can you take people's name and take people's pain and make money off of it and then don't turn around and invest in those same people? That to me is rape.
Exactly. And I feel the same way. I'm anti BLM as an organization. Black lives will definitely always matter as people.
Absolutely.
But as an
Absolutely.
organization, there's no way. I just did an interview as well with the leader, the new leader in New York. And he's radical to say the least, but he doesn't agree with them either. His name is Hawk Newsom. He was in all of the newspapers and on CNN maybe 2 weeks ago because he literally had a confrontation with the incoming mayor of New York, which is the second black man to ever be mayor of New York. But he threatened bloodshed if they started to stop and frisk. So his answer is kind of like a twisted version of Malcolm X, like by any means necessary.
Right.
If you put your hands on me, I'm gonna put my hands on you. But I say that to say to you and ask you, how do you feel about that when black people are trying to fight towards something and then they decide to use violence to get their point across?
Well, I'm against violence. One of I can't you can't say you want black brothers to stop killing, but then on the other hand turn around and say, okay, but if you do something, I'm gonna put my hand on you. And you talking to a person, brother, who has got a serious pride issue. I have to pray constantly, Lord, keep my pride from going off and choking somebody. So so I understand, I understand, but I think violence for violence does not work. My grandfather used to say, "An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth will leave all of us toothless and blind,"
True.
and we don't need that. So we got to figure out ways to fight policy and to fight issues that we're concerned about without violence being initiated and without rioting and looting. There has to be a better way.
But if I play devil's advocate for a minute, as far as
Absolutely.
the violence, I understand, but the looting and the marching and the protesting and angry screaming, I think that was a necessary evil to get people to listen. Because had we not done that, I don't think people would have paid attention.
Well, I think I don't have any problem with the marching. I don't have any problem with the boycotting. I think the best way for us as a people to have gotten their attention is not loot the stores, boycott the stores. Because here's what gets me: the same brothers and sisters that looted the stores now are the same brothers and sisters that's lined up on Michigan Avenue trying to get into Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
To so the same, it doesn't make sense. But if you really want to impact, and then what makes it so bad, you really didn't hurt them because insurance companies turned right around and paid them back for every loss. So what
Right.
did you do? And then they probably lied about some of the losses, so you may have helped them. But if all of us have said, listen, we're not buying another Louis Vuitton, we're not buying another Gucci, all over the country. If you know what would have happened if all the rappers would have said, ain't nobody buying no Gucci, ain't nobody buying Louis Vuitton, nobody buying Nike, all the rappers,
Right.
man, they would have shut. I bet some stuff would have changed so quick, so fast.
I
But
agree. I agree.
so that to me, there's better ways than looting. Looting Looting doesn't do anything.
I mean, we all know the solution and we know what we can do and what would change it. But the question for me is, why doesn't that happen? Why do you not think the rappers get together and say, hey, enough is enough. We're not going into Gucci. We're not doing this. Why don't you think that happens?
Well, because one, some of them are not leaders. That's one. They be put on a pedestal because they can rap, but just because you can rap does not mean you're a leader. And number two, doesn't mean you're a thinker. So a lot of these young brothers, they come straight out of poverty, come straight from the hood. They haven't been thinkers and leaders, and now they cast into positions where people are looking to them for direction and guidance, but they've never been directed and guided themselves. They don't know anything about that life. So that's a problem. So what has to happen is, I believe, those individuals who have risen to certain levels, like the 50 Cents, the P Diddy's, the Jay-Z's, the Dre's, they somehow, I believe, have to push. But I think the reason why they have difficulty pushing now is because they're so ingrained into the economic fabric of some of these very corporations we talking about that they can't push, they can't make the move. I think if some people would go and listen to some of the stuff that Kanye says, Kanye, as crazy as people may think he is on point on some of the economic stuff that he's saying. They lock out, they can't do certain things because they slaves. So
Yeah.
we need free thinking brothers and brothers who are free to help lead into a new way of doing things, and that's gonna be difficult.
And I think also a lot of them are afraid of the cancel culture that is so prevalent right now. If you say the wrong thing, then you're up to be canceled. And I've
Right.
witnessed.
But they need to start saying like Kanye. Kanye said, I'm above cancel culture. That's what I tell people. You can't cancel me.
Right. Let me ask you this. One of the things that'll get you canceled, quote unquote, in society is the gay issue. How do you feel about that?
As far as it depends on what you mean. I think the only problem I have with gay issues is that when they try to make their issues the black issue, that's like what Black Lives Matter does. When you look at their core values and things like that, they put gayness over blackness, and they have attached themselves to this black civil rights movement. That's the only problem I got. If you want to go sleep with another man, that's your business. You want to go sleep with another woman, that's your business. I ain't for it. I don't do it. But if you want to, that's on you. But don't try to attach your what you're going through to black pain.
Right.
That I have a problem with.
Right. So do you see, I mean, in your church, in your congregation, do you have any gay members?
Absolutely.
And
Some that I know and some that I don't know.
okay. The ones that you know, what kind of relationships do you have with them?
I have a great relationship with them. One of them is a major corporate exec, and we talk. And I don't get into his sexual life.
Yeah.
I don't get into his, you know, and I'm sure he's come to church many times with his gay partners. But that's, I'm not into who you sleeping with.
Right. And I think that's very important. But the reason why I ask you that is because as far as religion is concerned, there's a debate and there are arguments that says it's not accepted in the Bible. Is that true?
I don't believe the gay lifestyle is a lifestyle that's biblical. But I also don't believe that fornication uh, is biblical and people fornicating. I don't believe adultery is biblical and people having adultery. And I think sometimes what we do is we take in issues like homosexuality and put them at another level. But it's all about sexual immorality. It's about fornication. It's about adultery. It's about a bunch of sexual sins. It's not just. So I treat them all the same. I don't treat them differently. I eat with the adulterer. I eat with the fornicator. I eat with the homosexual. It's no different to me.
I mean, that's because, would you think that's a liberal way to think as a reverend? Because there are some reverends that don't think that way.
Well, they not being biblical because it's all not biblical. And so how can you treat one group, you know, even some of these pastors who saying, they can't stand homosexuals, but they big adulterers. Come on now.
Right.
How you don't like a homosexual, but you're an adulterer.
Right. So there's no
You
difference in
know,
the sin.
No difference.
Yeah.
No difference.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that on other things. I had a debate with someone about that, and my point of view was a stick up kid is in the same game as a dope dealer. And the reason why I thought that way or think that way is because they're
I
both
agree.
illegal. There's no difference. I mean, because he's strapping up and taking it. What makes him less than the man that's standing on the corner all day selling drugs? Y'all both
Right.
illegal. So
And what I do is, I just try to love people, man. I just try to love people, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of their color, regardless of who they are. Because at the end of the day, the really only the one I got to answer for before God is me.
right,
And so I just want to make sure I'm right on how I treat everybody. So if you're practicing homosexuality, you're not gonna see me mistreat you.
right. Right. And if you're a gangbanger, I don't think you should mistreat them or a criminal or whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. If you just did 30 last night, I'm up on the roof, but I spent 3 hours talking to a brother who had did 30 years in jail, And so we talked, we fellowship, and I'm not gonna treat him any different.
Right. That's a long time. I've been locked up before, but 30
Yeah.
years is a long time.
Yes. His name's CP, Charlie Parker. His brother was Shorty Freeman.
Oh, I definitely know who Shorty Freeman is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I definitely know. You know what, Rev? I'm Muslim. Let me just make that clear. But one of the things as a Muslim, and I'm Sunni Muslim. I'm not Nation of Islam. I'm not anything other than
I
Sunni
was gonna
Muslim.
ask you that.
No, I simply believe Allah means God in Arabic. That's it. That's all. So what I was going to say is, why don't you say a prayer for those who believe like you? Because I respect all of Allah's books, the Bible, the Injil, the Torah. As a Muslim, that is supposed to be your duty. Everyone doesn't practice that, but it is what it is. So if you could take us into prayer and speak to those who you think need to be speak to, that would be great. Can you do that?
Absolutely, I love to.
Okay.
I love to pray the prayer that Jesus prayed when he's facing the cross. He prayed that Lord make them one. So I want to pray for that.
Okay.
Lord, I thank you for your grace and your mercy, Father God. I thank you for this conversation you've given me with this brother. I thank you for his genuineness. I thank you for his heart. I thank you for what he's attempting to do. I pray for everything that he puts his hands to, that it would prosper, that it would be blessed. Bless his family as well. Now, God, I pray for our culture. I pray for our neighborhoods. I pray for our young black brothers. Help us to become one. I pray that BDs and GDs and Stones, Vice Lords, Crips, Bloods, all of these different sects, somehow, God, that you make them one. I pray for the brother who just gets out of jail, that he'll be able to do for his family, find an occupation so he can transform his life. Help us to be everything that you called us to be. Help us to be the men that you've called us to be. We believe that, we stand on that, and we accept it. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Hey, Pastor, man, you know what? I'm going to tell you, my respect level has gone. I respected you from the door. Like I said, I heard about you. I think I heard about you waking up one morning on the news. And I'm like, yo, I got to go talk to him because he getting ready to sleep on the roof in the cold in Chicago. Like, I want to go talk to this brother. And you didn't do what some bougie reverends might do. I think I'm past that stage because my reputation precedes itself. But I've been in situations where they think that they're better than me, or they think they're better than our audience, and they wish not to speak to that. But you didn't do that.
Right.
So I definitely respect
Never
you.
that.
I definitely respect you, man. And if there's something we can do to assist with you, please don't hesitate to reach out because I will definitely be there. So at the
Okay,
end of the
man.
day,
Thank
man,
you so much.
yes, I appreciate you being on the As Is podcast. And hey, man, I can't say stay out the cold because you smack dead in it.
And if you get a chance, man, come and stay one night. At least stay one night. Let's break bread around this
You know
fire.
what I'm gonna do? You know what? I don't say anything if I don't do it. I'll do that.
All
That's how
right,
much
cool.
respect I got for you. I'll do that. So look forward to seeing me soon. All
All
right.
right, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Pastor.
All right.